Nice to see you all, the ones that I can see, any of the, at least a few that I can see of you. Nice that you're meeting with us this evening. And as you know, this meeting is virtual, and of course we've still got the regulations that's in place because of the COVID-19 response. So let me just read this out to you, please, everybody. Regulations have temporarily removed the legal requirement for local authorities to hold public meetings in person, as we all know. However, the requirement for public meetings to be this committee, and I just wanted to just measure to you about the regulations, obviously because we're still in COVID-19. Obviously the regulations have temporarily been removed and the legal requirement for local authorities to hold public meetings in person, as we know. However, the requirement for public meetings to be made accessible to the public remains, and the link to this meeting is available on the council's website on the usual link page. If the connection, this is the best bit, if the connection to a member is lost, and if there's any kind of connection that's going to be lost, it's probably going to be mine, I'll have to stop the meeting to enable the connection to be restored. If the connection cannot be restored within a reasonable time, the meeting will proceed. Okay, but the member who was disconnected will not be able to vote on the matter under discussion, as they would not have heard all the facts, which is fair enough, isn't it? Should any aspect of the external link fail, I may call a short adjournment up to 5 minutes or so to determine whether the connection can quickly be established, either by video technology or telephone in the alternative. It's amazing, this isn't it, around to do this in this day and age. Anyway, let me just carry on with this, folks. If the connection is lost, if the connection is not restored within the time, the meeting will be adjourned. Any further business will not proceed until another date and time. So firstly, can I ask Sian to just check in that all the members are in attendance, please, Sian?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Briggs?
Present.
Councillor Byrne?
Present.
Councillor Harrison?
Present.
Councillor Williamson?
Present.
Councillor Williams?
Present.
Karen Williams, who is an independent member?
Present.
Councillor Bealey?
Present.
And Councillor Moore? I don't think Councillor Moore is with us, Chair. Thank you.
That's fine, Sian. Cheers, Sian. Thank you. Just one other thing, guys. Should the committee come to take a vote, each member will be asked individually to state whether they are for or against or abstaining. Just let me get me part of the agenda here. So, Sian, do I have any apologies, please?
Well, Mr. Fay, Chair.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. And do any members have any declaration of interest, please? I haven't. No, nobody has had the no. Sian, we've got no public question times, have we? No public questions at all, have we?
We have no public questions, Chair.
That's fine, yeah. And item 5, this is incredible. Minutes from the meeting held on the 22nd of October 2018. Got a lot's happened since then. Thank you. I think there's only a couple of us here that were at that meeting. I can move them as a correct record if somebody could second that, please. Diane, you was here. Was you? I can't remember who else was here. Does it need to be seconded?
Second. Yeah.
Cheers, Dan. That's fine. Thank you. Is that okay, that, Sian, with that like that? Just the fact that those minutes are that old and me and Diane have seconded it. That's okay, isn't it?
That's fine, Chair. Thank you.
That's good. And the item that we're all here for now is item 6, and we're going to hear from Paul and about the Local Government Association's Model Code of Conduct for Members. Off you go, Paul.
Okay, thank you, Chair. We just wanted to bring a report to the Standards Committee to highlight the fact that the LGA have done a piece of work on a new proposed code of conduct. Obviously, members will be aware that each authority has its own code of conduct, which the council have had for a number of years, and that's been approved by full council after discussion across Greater Manchester, because it was important, I think, to try to get consistency across the Greater Manchester authorities. As I say, the LGA have developed a new code for authorities to consider as to whether the new code should replace the existing code that authorities have. So the report sets out the kind of main areas. Obviously, the key principles are largely the same. I think some of the main issues arising from the LGA code are there's more narrative on some of the principles, as you'll see in the LGA draft. There's a as regards hospitality, the kind of figure is increased, and there's a specific requirement to comply with the sanctions. A different approach as regards interests which are not disclosable pecuniary interest. At the moment in our code we talk about a personal and prejudicial interest. Well, in the LGA code, that talks about any matters arising which directly relate to an interest, or which directly relate to a financial interest or well-being of an individual, or affects an individual. So there are some key changes. It's been brought to the Standards Committee because obviously the code will need, if indeed it is to be adopted, to go to full council, but we want the Standards Committee to have an opportunity to review it, to make any observations. There's a piece of work going on across Greater Manchester to see across offices to see whether there can be consistency. I think the importance of consistency is that obviously because members often will work at joint committees, and I think is a key point that it's important that each member is working so far as possible to the same principles of the code. But if that's the overview of the report and the two codes, obviously members have seen the LGA code, and obviously you'll be familiar with our existing code. So it's any observations that the Standards Committee may have that we can incorporate that when the matter gets referred to full council. Chair.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you. Does any member have any questions or comments, please?
Steve?
Yeah.
It's not working.
Paul, is there any reasoning behind why they changed it from pecuniary and personal? Is there any reason that they've done that?
No, I think in terms of the pecuniary interest, what I think is changing is that at the moment we've got our personal and prejudicial interest in the LGA code. That's just got a different sense of terminology, and the intention
pecuniary
is
stays.
I didn't quite catch that. Sorry.
Sorry, Paul. Pecuniary stays, does it?
Yes, if you've got a direct pecuniary interest,
yeah, okay,
that's exactly the same, because that flows from the Localism Act. Yes.
Right. Okay. Right.
Jenny, did you indicate? I know you said your system's not
yeah,
working.
it came on eventually. Yeah, it was just our interest really, reading that some authorities have actually decided not to adopt it, and I just wondered if we knew reasons that had been given by other authorities for not adopting it. Thank you.
No, I mean, there were specific reasons. We're just aware that some authorities have decided to continue with their own code. It may be that the authorities feel quite comfortable with their own code. They feel it works well, and they didn't wish to effectively pursue the LGA model.
Can I ask or make an observation, please?
Yeah, who's that, please? I can't see who it is, that, please.
It's Barbara.
Hi, Barbara. Yes,
From
come in, Barbara, go ahead.
An observation, really, that reading through this, I found it was quite good that they'd updated and specified electronic social media communications, because recently that has come to the fore, but our current code of conduct doesn't really explain in those terms. So I think that's quite a good point.
Cheers, Barbara, thank you. Paul, have you got any comments you want to make about that?
No, I think it's a fair comment. Yes, I'd agree with that.
Good. Anybody else?
Well, I
Steve?
agree with Barbara
Steve?
on that one.
Steve, it's Norman.
Go on, Norman. Yeah.
Paul, the local authorities in Greater Manchester that have not adopted this, do we know who they are?
We're effectively going to do a piece of work now across Greater Manchester. We just want to get the views of the Standards Committee first, to then take it to Greater Manchester to say, you know, that our Standards Committee broadly in principle in favour of this, to then get a sense as to which authorities in Greater Manchester are adopting it. I'm not getting any sense of who's not adopting it yet. I think a few are, I know that. And then obviously do the piece of work across Greater Manchester before the matter comes to full council.
But we don't know who these councils are who are not going to adopt it.
No, I think the reference in the paper, I think, was not related to Greater Manchester. I think we just picked that up nationally.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Anybody else? Any other comments? No. Paul, can I just share this with you? Sticking my neck out now. If somebody comes on to me as a councillor and says, Steve Williams, right, are you accountable? Is there a standards board watching over you? If you drop a clanger, you're going to get collared big time. Yeah, I think so. I've been on many of these meetings with Pam and Diane Williamson. Forget the politics. We've just done it based on the fact that there's something happens to be wrong and we have to get it sorted, and we've done it brilliantly. What we tried to do anyway, even though some of those circumstances are difficult. But when you get collared by a standards board or you have to act to a model code of conduct, what's wrong with that? Why is it that if there's any of these other local authorities saying they're not adopting it, why wouldn't they want to adopt it? Because if it's something where somebody can tap us on the shoulder as a local authority and say, hey, Oldham Council, have you got your members in line? Is everybody doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing? Is it accountable what they're doing? I like to think, yeah. And if we are and this strengthens it, then just have it and that's it. It won't bother me, that's all, Paul. I find it strange that other people don't want to adopt to it, but that's up to them, isn't it? Any other comments before we just try and move on a bit? Austin has indicated. Norman, is that your hand up, that?
Yeah, I had my hand up before.
Okay,
sorry,
Diane,
I can't see you. Hang on. Diane, you first, and you, Norman, yeah.
Thank you. I suppose 2 points really. One would be is that it seems this code of conduct seems to be more robust, and it covers some of the stuff that has been happening. And so yes, if other local authorities in Greater Manchester don't want to adopt it, then it would be a surprise, because I just think that it strengthens some of the stuff that's within it. And just picking up your point, Steve, that you said about, you know, when we sit on these, we've sat on so many recently that are sort of a bit contentious, and a lot to do with what Barbara said about social media. And I think if it gets around that and makes that a bit more robust, then I think it needs to be adopted, and I do think that section of it covers it well. So I just really wanted to just say that was my point, and I wanted to support what you two have both said. So thank you.
Cheers, Diane. Don't forget that Paul did mention to us it might not necessarily be Greater Manchester, it could be out there somewhere else that's done it, even though we know that there's other authorities. Norman, then Karen.
Yeah, I agree with what Diane said, actually. The only other thing is some local authorities might think that we don't know what their code of conduct is. It might be more robust than the LGA one. There's a possibility of that as well. And that is another reason why they may not want to adopt it. It could be exactly that. But I do agree with Diane that it is more robust as far as we're concerned.
Cheers, Norman. Thank you. Karen?
Yeah, I have to say I was impressed with the report. I thought it was really thorough. I just have a question, please, and forgive me, it's probably me that doesn't understand the terminology, but on page 2 it says sets the threshold for registration of gifts and hospitality at £50. I'm assuming that means the lower threshold.
Paul, can you answer that, please?
As it does, that's the threshold. If there's any gift or hospitality that reaches that level, then it needs to be declared in that way. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Because it can be an upper and a lower. I just wanted to clarify the terminology on that. Thank you, Paul. That's very helpful.
Pam, then Jenny. You're on mute, Pam, that's it.
Yeah, I think our current one, apart from the social media section, is quite robust. I'm not sure whether we should adopt this one or modify our own to make that section, because I think what Steve was saying to start with, we've worked very well with the one we've got, but it needs expanding in areas like social media. So perhaps Paul could answer, is it an option to keep our own and modify certain sections to strengthen them?
It's an option. I suppose the key, though, Councillor Byrne, is that trying to get some form of consistency across Greater Manchester, and the reason for that is, as I said earlier, that if one councillor sitting next to another at a joint committee meeting, I think it's important that there's consistency about the code that applies to each of those members. But yes, it could be varied. Our own code could be varied if that was the wish of council. Yes.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you. Cheers, Pam. Jenny?
It's very much on the same lines, really. I mean, the only one I've looked at recently as a member of this committee very much involved the use of social media and how we use our judgments on the appropriateness of what we're saying on social media, shall we say. So I think to tighten up in that area and to be more robust, as the word's been going around, and explicit, I think that definitely needs to be looked at. And I think the whole thing, the LGA model, it does sort of add a bit of meat to the bone. We do already have, as you say, a very good and very strong code of conduct, but I do think this model does add strength and, as I say, adds meat to the bone. Sorry if there are any vegetarians amongst us. That's it. That's my comment.
Cheers, Jenny. Thank you. Is there anybody else just before we move on, please, before we carry on? Oh, come on, hold on there. Oh, then the old hands that will. Is that your old hand, that Pam that's up there from before? Pam, is that your old hand, or is that a new one? No, okay. Paul, can I just ask you again what Pam said? The comments that everybody's made has been absolutely brilliant. But if it came to us wanted to alter it, obviously we couldn't do that now, could we? But if we wanted to at some later date strengthen what we've got, how easy is that to do? Obviously we won't do it now or anything, but is that something to do in the future or what?
Yes, a possibility. We could adapt our existing code. I suppose that the work that's being done by the LGA is to try to get some kind of conformity across the country. I think it would be useful for the Standards Committee to express a view as to whether, in principle, you're minded to adopt or in terms of make a recommendation to full council to adopt the LGA code, or whether you would prefer the existing code with modifications to be presented to full council. I think those are the two options you've got as a committee.
Right, okay. Right, let's just proceed on a minute or two then. I could carry on with this all day if you wanted to, but obviously we don't want to be doing that, do we? Would somebody just be willing to move, as it stands already, the fact that we accept the Local Governments Association recommendation and we accept that new model code of conduct?
I'm
So
quite happy to
somebody
do
needs to
that.
second that and somebody needs.
I'm quite happy
Okay.
to propose that.
Cheers, Dan. And somebody else please to second it.
Yeah, I'd second that.
I'm quite willing to.
Oh,
Right. Okay.
Right, good.
Also,
Sorry, everybody. I'm not trying to limit everybody, but I just want to be clear regarding Pam's comments. Pam, I take your points entirely. We don't have to do that now. We could just make the recommendation that we accept that code of conduct, and then we can look at the rest of the later date. Is that okay? Paul, can I just be clear? We're being streamed, aren't we?
Yes, yep.
Right, so I'm just sorry, but I've got to say this. I wouldn't do this if it weren't being streamed. I'm going to say it. Don't care, I'm going to say it. Right, so we're being streamed, so here's us the standards board in Oldham. So how good are we? How tough are we? How competent are we? Let me just share this with anybody that just might be watching. I've always felt about this very, very strongly, as Labour Party members already know. On our committee, we've got a mixture of Lib Dem, Tory councillors, independent members, and obviously the independent with the Tory members, the Lib Dem members, and how they vote. Don't care, not bothered, because when we're on that committee, we're not there for that. And it doesn't matter what party politics we're involved in, we've always tried to be objective. We've always tried to make it further. If that person dropped a clanger big enough, sorry mate, you're going to have to walk the plank, you know, you're going to have to answer that question. You're not going to get away with it. And forget with your Labour, Lib Dem or Tory, not. And Diane Williamson and Pam Byrne will tell me this is better because I've spent more time with them. The amount of times I've sat in a committee, in this true poll, where we've had to anguish over something thinking, oh my God, what if this? What if that? What should we do with this? What should we do with that? And we've always come to a reasonable conclusion, forgetting the party politics. So the ruling is this for me as the chair. Don't matter who you are. If you've dropped a clanger and you come in front of that standards board and you're guilty, you'll cop it. If you've done nothing wrong, hold your hands up. Sorry guys, I dropped a clanger. I'll just go and apologise. It's as easy as that. So that's the way I've always tried to play it. And Paul, I'm only saying that now to everybody else just because we're being streamed. And somebody just one day might watch this and look at it, because sometimes people don't consider the standards board. If nobody's got any other comments, we're going to go to the vote now, please, because we've already had the second doing the movers. So
Yeah, can I just check in terms of what's been proposed and seconded, is that the standards committee make a recommendation to full council to adopt the LGA code?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I propose. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what Barbara seconded as well, isn't it? So can we go to the vote now, please? And Sian's going to ask for your intentions, please.
She is. So if you could indicate that you are for, against or abstaining, please. Councillor Briggs.
For.
Councillor Byrne.
For.
Councillor Harrison.
For.
Councillor Williamson.
For.
Karen Williams.
For.
Parish Councillor Beeley.
For.
And Councillor Williams.
For.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Cheers, Sian. Thank you. And I think, Paul, that's it now, isn't it? We've got nothing else. So that's it now, isn't it? We're well done, haven't we?
It is, that's right, Chair.
Oh, cheers. Thanks very much for attending, everybody. And one day we won't be meeting like this, we'll be meeting in person. So until we get the chance to meet again, please take care. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye.
Thank you.
The sun's still shining. Get out there.